Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Hope you guys are having a great Tuesday evening, and more importantly, a safe Tuesday evening as severe weather is ongoing right now. There was reports of a tornado on the ground about 15-20 minutes ago. Not sure if it's still on the ground, but it certainly was. I saw pictures all over social media of it. And then the severe weather threat is ramping up right now in Iowa as there is a tornado on the ground in portions of Iowa right now as I speak. So this is ongoing. This is ramping up. Severe weather will continue throughout the overnight hours. But I'm making this video to really focus on tomorrow's threat. I had a lot of people ask today, you're going to talk about in detail about tomorrow, and that is what this video is going to be. We're going to get very detailed, as about as detailed as we possibly can, about what is going to happen tomorrow as far as severe weather. There's a big time tornado threat, big time hail threat, and a big time damaging wind threat. In fact, a really big damaging wind threat. So we're going to get as detailed as we can. So if I don't mention your area right off the dot, stick with me and I'm going to get to it. And if I miss your area, please just ask the question in the comments and I promise you guys I will have it answered by tomorrow morning. In this video, I really want to get you guys prepared on what I really think is going to be the worst day out of this 3-day stretch of severe weather. I really do think it is. So I'm going to get as detailed as I possibly can for each region. So if you guys have not subscribed, consider doing that. It goes a long way. Like the video if you like it. And I really appreciate y'all supporting me over the last couple of days. I've picked up a lot of subscribers and you guys are just supporting somebody who has a passion for weather, and I'm blessed enough to be able to talk about what I love to an audience and help others. So I really appreciate you guys giving that to me. And more importantly, before we get going, if you guys got anything I can pray about, please put it in the comments below. Gives me an opportunity to pray over it, gives others an opportunity to do so, more importantly. And a lot of people suffer from storm anxiety, and it's a real thing. So we need to pray for one another, look out for one another as we prepare for a very active day tomorrow across a large area. So let's get going here. Sorry about the extra long intro, but I just really want to talk about, leading up to what's going on and really get that out there. But right now we got that moderate risk up. I know this is much more large than a lot of you folks are used to, but I want you guys to see what's going on. Moderate risk ongoing in Iowa, severe weather ongoing in Texas right now too. So the tornado threat is ramping up right now and will be ongoing over the next several hours until this turns into really a squall line kind of deal, more so of a line of storm. So that's ongoing right now. And you can take a look at the satellite kind of visual in this area, and you can check out where these storms are exploding here in areas of central and northwest Iowa, right here at the triple point. We call this area right here the triple point, where all the storm energy is rising here. Dew point's this huge moist sector rising in this area, and then you have dry air on this side right here. It's basically where the kinematics are the strongest. So you have these rotating updrafts that are really exploding here in Iowa right now. So please stay safe in the overnight hours. But let's get going into tomorrow's threat. So right now, and I'll show you the key here, you have what we call a marginal, a slight, enhanced, a moderate, and a high risk. And right now, there is a pretty huge moderate risk in this area. This includes everybody in this red area. Of course, it's not going to show all those small towns in this area, but includes bigger cities like Memphis, all the small towns and cities and areas of northwest Mississippi, all of far eastern areas of Arkansas, a very small slither of northeast Louisiana, the Quad States region, southern areas of Illinois, a small section of southwest Indiana, and then southeast Missouri, western areas of Tennessee, and Kentucky. And then you add the enhanced risk around it. We can't just totally not talk about that also. That is a level 3 out of 5. And then the slight risk surrounding that. So a lot of people are going to be under the gun tomorrow. Nashville, Shreveport potentially, Little Rock, a pretty large area is going to be under the gun. So let's go on here and talk about the tornado risk. I think the highest tornado risk is going to be in this region. And of course, the Storm Prediction Center, which is the opinion that you really need to listen to the most, is saying that also. And they have a 15% risk of a tornado in 25 miles in any given location in this region right here. And then you have a 10% risk of a tornado of 25 miles in any given location in this massive region right here, stretching all the way from central areas of Louisiana through Mississippi, areas of Arkansas, western Tennessee, the Quad States region, into the southern Ohio Valley, Kentucky, areas of southern Indiana, and southern Illinois, This is a big deal, guys. But you see where it has these lines going through it about, just about all the pretty much all the 10% region and the 15% region has these what we call a hatched region, which is basically a black outline region. You can't see the black outline because it's basically kind of overlapped by the yellow outline, which is covering the 10% region. But when you have dashes going through, we call this a hatched. So that means there's a 10% chance in 25 miles in any given location of an EF2 or higher tornado. It goes all the way up to EF5. So a big deal, guys. And then we look at the wind threat tomorrow. This is just as big of a deal as the tornado threat. You have a 45% chance to see damaging winds and 25 miles in any given location in this region. This includes Jackson, Tennessee, Memphis, Tennessee, the entire Quad States region, northeastern Arkansas, western sections of Tennessee, the far northwestern counties of Mississippi, western areas of Kentucky, southern areas of Illinois and Indiana, and really Indiana, just far southwestern areas of Indiana. But you have this large area, I don't know why it flipped there, but you have this large area of 30% chance of seeing damaging winds 25 miles in any given location. Then you have this hatch region, which basically is saying, hey, down here, you're saying a 10% or greater probability in this hatch region to see wind gusts of 65 knots or greater within 25 miles of a point in this location. So that is certainly damaging wind gust in this region. So this is a big deal. And then you have the hail threat also, especially where discrete supercells can really get going here. So a 10% chance with a hatch region of also seeing more significantly sized hail in this setup. So let's get going here. What we're going to do next is we're going to look at this as a whole and how this develops. We're going to look at the latest long-range HRRR model. So we're going to start this in the middle of the night tonight. You already have ongoing convection in Arkansas. And trust me, guys, I'm going to get a much closer look at this, okay? So stick with me. I just want to show you how it evolves in a more broader look here. So you have convection already. Let me take a deep breath. All right, let's get going here. So you already have convection kind of firing off here. Morning convection. And in fact, the Storm Prediction Center mentions this morning convection. When I say convection, think of morning storms, morning rain. The Storm Prediction Center mentions this rain and storms as maybe a trick in the forecast, as of it might act as stabilizing the atmosphere earlier on in the mornings. So it may help to dampen the severe weather threat in this region. But we have to see, there's so many dynamics in play right here that it really might not matter. You're probably not even going to need the sun to bust through the clouds in this region. You really aren't, because there's so many other dynamics in place to create the severe weather threat. But we keep this going here, ongoing severe weather, and then you're getting into Wednesday morning, and here it is. Here comes all the action firing up here. A multicellular discrete storms are forming, meaning you could have kind of a line of storms forming, but discrete supercells, which are rotating thunderstorms in these lines of storms, will really get going here. And then this will turn into more just a line of storms. So what we're going to do here is we're going to look at the southern sections of the severe weather threat first. So we're going to obviously see what you see on the screen: Alabama, Mississippi, Tennessee, Arkansas, Louisiana, a very small section of Kentucky, but I'll show a better look at Kentucky here on the next graph here. But we're going to start this off in the middle of the night tonight, so about 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. And that's what I'm going to do in this video. So I'm not going to give you a specific time. I'm probably going to say 4 or 5 p.m. So, a 2 to 3 hour window, because it's very hard to predict exactly where these storms are going to be. So really already starting overnight, you have these areas, bowed out areas of storms already, going through areas of southern Arkansas. You got this section right here in the Quad States region of some severe weather. This will continue through the overnight hours into the morning hours, and then really make its way into Tennessee, Mississippi as the sun begins to come up in these regions. This is probably around 7, 8 a.m. You still have ongoing rain and showers, so you're wondering, well, you're waking up with rain already, but when these really aren't severe thunderstorms. Well, this is just the morning convection, the morning rain. This isn't really the main show. What happens here is you get a little bit later into the morning hours, you begin to watch this energy right here firing up. And I'm not sure if these storms, as you're getting into about the mid-morning time frame in Arkansas, you're already going to have showers, maybe some storms popping up around Little Rock, the middle of Arkansas. But I don't know if they're going to be really severe. But as we're getting into about the midday time frame, noon, 1 p.m., 2 p.m., you start to see this area of storms developing here. And then you start to get into about the early afternoon hours, and then the storms really begin to erupt in Louisiana, western areas of Mississippi, eastern areas of Arkansas. And you notice there's nothing super discrete about these storms, meaning you're not seeing any isolated big-time storms. But I'm telling you, it does not matter. You're going to have clusters of storms with embedded areas of rotation in them. So this storm just southwest of Memphis at around 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon could be producing a tornado. These little embedded showers and storms could be producing tornadoes. All of them can, and it's impossible to predict where they're going to pop up. But just know, this is why you have that 15% risk of a tornado in this region, that this is dangerous. And who knows, it might get upgraded to a high risk of tornadoes, a high risk in general of severe weather. But as you're getting into a little bit later, maybe more so the mid-afternoon time frame, 3, 4, 5 o'clock, watch out Memphis. Nasty storms just south of y'all, but they could be right on top of y'all. But all these storms right into here, northern Louisiana, eastern Arkansas, even this line of storms, watch out here. All of central and western areas of Mississippi. Watch out New Orleans down here. There's going to be what we call a little bit lack of forcing down here just because you're so far away from the low pressure that's well to your north. But you have such a rich moisture feed into this area that you have so many other dynamics in play that I really don't think it's going to matter. You're going to have severe potential in all these regions. But as you're getting a little bit deeper into the afternoon, getting into the evening hours, 4, 5, 6 p.m., guys, in northern Mississippi, this cell right here could be producing a tornado. Damaging winds could be a main threat with this too. If anything becomes isolated, hail will be a big time threat. Watch out, western Tennessee. This cell right here could be dangerous. Probably west of Nashville. So between Memphis and Nashville, these storms will be firing up in a favorable time of the day where these can still be dangerous. They really can. But I'm telling you, if you're in these areas right here that I just mentioned, tornadic storms are going to be around. I mean, even look at this storm here in far southeastern Texas. This could be producing a tornado. The ingredients are there. And the thing is this becomes a little bit clustered up as you get into the evening hours, meaning you're still going to have a risk for tornadoes. In fact, look at these little hook signatures right into here. That tells me that you're going to have probably rain-wrapped tornadoes in this region. It's going to be very dangerous, guys. It really is. And I'm really worried about this area. I know you guys are used to severe weather and just crazy weather in general. In the winter, you guys had some crazy winter storms, but this is probably going to rival the top severe weather event I really think of 2022 in this region. Hopefully it busts, which means it doesn't really materialize as a big-time severe weather threat. But, man, there's just so many dynamics in play. But as you get into the late evening hours, probably 8, 9 p.m., this begins to kind of cluster up and lose its forcing here and kind of just gets bowed out into a line of storms into this area. And really, by the time I think you get into about 9, 10 p.m., the severe weather threat is over for areas like Memphis and all these regions right here. But I really think heavy rain and even a tornado threat down here needs to be watched out here. So be careful in these areas. So, like I said, you got any questions about this region, just ask. But it's going to be impossible to know exactly where a cell is going to pop up. But just know, once you get into the early afternoon hours in this region right here, it's going to start to get ugly with these cells beginning to form maybe around 1, 2, 3 p.m. at the earliest. And, watch out these little individual cells right here. They all could produce tornadoes here in southern Arkansas, northern Louisiana. Watch out Shreveport, especially Shreveport points east. Really dangerous setup. Let's talk about my folks up here a little bit further north in the Quad States regions, areas of Indiana, Illinois, and Arkansas, and Missouri. So same situation. I'm going to start out in the middle of the night. This continues. This is what's left over the severe weather ongoing right now in Iowa. The tornadoes being produced right now. We're getting into the morning hours. The sun's starting to come out. It's around 6, 7 a.m. You had this cluster of storms already riding through Arkansas. You already have some convection up here in Indiana. This could already be producing some severe weather, but you really start to watch out here. It's going to be a lot messier up here. Not necessarily, messy to the point where just a big blob of rain, but you're not going to get really anything discrete up here. It's going to be even more difficult to forecast what happens in like Illinois. Illinois is going to be very, very tricky. But as we're getting into about mid-morning, the severe weather threat's already ramping up. Watch out for this cluster of storms here in south central Missouri that begins to form. Watch out, Columbia just points south, and Columbia, Missouri points south. And then watch out, St. Louis. You guys will already be experiencing, I think, some severe weather before lunchtime. And really, as you're starting to get into about midday, this somewhat broken up line of storms begins to form, and you can have embedded spin-ups, embedded supercells that's really entwined into this line of storms. But it's going to be kind of a messy look. But let me tell you, the kinematics up here, basically that low-level jet is going to be the most intense in this region. So I think it's even more dangerous up here because as you're getting into the early afternoon hours, even watch out Chicago. Watch out Chicago. But as you get into the early afternoon hours, watch as this line of storms begins to intensify. So if you're in southern Illinois, southeast Missouri, this is where I think the damaging wind threat really cranks up. But it's not just damaging wind for these areas. Watch out, western Kentucky here in the coming hours. It's the embedded tornadoes in this line of storms right here that are going to be an issue. This is going to be a quasi-linear convective setup and system that's really going to form here in a bowed-out line of storms with damaging winds. You're going to have such a stout low-level jet pushing 60, 70 knots embedded in this region here that these winds are going to mix to the surface. So you're going to have 60, 70, maybe 80 mile per hour wind gusts with this line of storms that begins to develop here. So, watch out, all the towns. I'm sorry I can't mention every town and every city in areas of southern Illinois. I'm sure there really isn't any cities in southern Illinois, but all the little towns, just know that if you're in southern Illinois, areas of southeast Missouri, and then into western Kentucky, and then maybe even into west areas of Indiana, as you're getting into the evening, the mid to late afternoon hours, this becomes dangerous. And here we go. I mean, look at this. Embedded spin-ups in this line here in southern Illinois. I can't mention it enough. Along with the damaging wind threat, even a hail, but they're going to have embedded spin-ups. You see how I'm moving the cursor like that? Where you're going to have just rain-wrapped tornadoes, and they're going to be moving quick too. So you're not going to really see them coming. That's why it's going to be dangerous in this setup. So you keep this going here. We're getting into the evening hours, probably around 6, 7 p.m., and this begins to move into western Kentucky. And then watch out western Tennessee also. And then the severe weather threat begins to end for most of Missouri as the sun begins to set for you folks. And even for most of Illinois. But you still have a severe weather threat in areas of Indiana as you're getting more so when the sun's going down. But I think it begins to lose its steam. But there will still be an ongoing damaging wind threat in areas of Kentucky. Watch out. Tornado threat still along this line here. I really do think so, and this continues to move off. So, a dangerous setup. It really is. I'm going to talk about the dynamics towards the end of the video and what's going into making this setup. Another deep breath. But we go into midday for my folks in Ohio. I've had a lot of people mention this. I really think the big threat really comes in. Y'all are going to have a lot of rain that moves in through the afternoon hours. There really isn't going to be that severe as far as a severe element to this, but as you're getting into the evening hours, the sun's going down, I really think there'll be leftover energy that flows through Dayton, Ohio, potentially Cleveland, southern sections of Ohio. Will have probably a damaging line of storms that moves through as far as damaging winds potential. Now, I think it'll lose its steam by the time it gets to Ohio, but this is going to happen when a lot of people are going to sleep, so that's what makes it dangerous. But I think the tornado threat in this region begins to lessen, but it's not completely zero. So watch out in Ohio in the coming hours, and then this completely falls apart as it enters areas of West Virginia and PA going forward here. So let's talk about the dynamics. What we do know, surge of dew points, of high-end dew points, meaning dew points into the 60s. I hate when I say high-end dew points. What I mean to say is high-end moisture surges ahead of this dry line. But this dry air begins to get on the move in response to this cold front that finally starts to progress eastward. And then ahead of this, you have dew points reaching the 60s all the way up into southern Wisconsin. So you have a massive, what we call moist sector in this region. plenty of low-level moisture to work with, right? And what's going into making this happen is what we call a negatively tilted trough. So what happens is when these isobars bow out like this, that's what we call positively tilted trough. So that means you have more of a weaker system. When it becomes neutrally tilted, like it bows out like this, that means you have a system that could be strengthening, but it's not quite as strong as what we call a negatively tilted trough. And that's what's going to happen. You see this surface low up here in response, this is going to bow out negatively like this. So this pulls all this moisture out the Gulf, and it creates a dynamic setup. That's why you're having a raging blizzard right now in North Dakota that I hadn't even mentioned in this video, that I wish I could have time to mention that, but I hope you guys are staying safe up there. I know that y'all are used to blizzards, but it's dumping 2 to 3 feet of snow on y'all, so I don't think anybody's quite used to that. But you take out the 500 millibar wind streams right now, what's going to go on with this system? This thing becomes negatively tilted, strong wind field over this region here. You got a strong low-level jet that I'm about to show you here in a second. This is pulling all this moisture, this surface heating up into this area. So you're going to have high-end cape in response to this setup here. But you keep this going here, and here's the cape for the setup. We're going into the afternoon hours. Of course, all your cape is down here. That's where you're going to have the big-time tornado threat. And you have enough of a low-level jet down here mixed in with these cape values reaching 2 to 3,000 in the area where they're worried about the tornado threat the most. So you have plenty of storm fuel. I know you're looking up here and you're thinking, well, there's not a lot up in this region. Well, you don't necessarily need a lot when you have extreme kinematics at bay here, which you do. You have a lot of spinning in the atmosphere and a lot of other dynamics going for you. So you're still going to have a tornado threat even into Illinois tomorrow afternoon. But the dynamics in place are there, big time high-end cape levels into areas of the deep south. And then you look at the low-level jet in general, it's about 40, maybe as much as 50 knots as you're getting into Wednesday afternoon in this region. And that's all you need when you already have those cape values reaching 1,500 to 2,500 surface cape, and then dew points well into the 60s. That's all you need. You really don't need a raging low-level jet pushing 60, 70 knots. But in this region right here, you're going to have that ahead of this line of storms. You're going to have a low-level jet raging ahead of it that's going to be spinning these embedded supercells in this line of storms in Illinois and the Quad States regions. So dangerous setup, guys. It really is. But that's about all I got, guys. I'll make another video in the morning. I'll give you the latest updated information. It won't be quite as long, but I want you guys to stay safe. Please, if you got any questions, concerns, put it in the comments below, and I'll have them all answered by tomorrow morning. I'm going to wake up really early and take care of those questions for you guys and prayer requests. So stay safe out there. People are getting hit and damage is occurring from tornadoes as I speak. So hit me up on Twitter, hit me up on Facebook, and if you got any questions on there, I know most people use Facebook, send me a message, and I'll try to get to you as quick as I can. So God bless everybody. Stay safe, and I'll talk to you guys in the morning.